Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Adrian's Digital Basement 2 Super Mini Mail Call. Let's jump right into the first item. This comes from the nice folks over at iFixIt, not a sponsor. iFixIt reached out and just said they really appreciate all the work I do trying to show people how to fix their old computers. And they offered to send over their new FixHub, which is a kind of all-in-one kit from my understanding for soldering. So lots of tools, kind of everything you would need to get started on doing repair work. Now you might have noticed me using this on the channel quite a bit. This is a Pinecil and was sent in by one of my patrons a while back. And I've used the heck out of this thing. And of course, it still completely works great, which I love. It's USB-C, so I have it plugged into a USB-C power delivery power supply. Whoops, I held down the button there accidentally while I plugged it in. You see it's running at 20 volts. This heats up the tip. This allows you to go into the settings. It's quite a capable little device, and obviously it's very, very small, and it's a direct heat unit, which means the heating occurs in the tip. I need to be careful because it's actually heating right now. So we'll just turn that off. And it does show you the temperature as it cools down. I really like this thing. It's nice because it's super fast. And the cool thing is if you hold down the plus button while it's heated up, it actually goes into a boost mode, which is configurable in the menus. So say you have it set for 350 Celsius, hold that button down and it can jump up to 450. One of the negatives of a small soldering iron like this, it doesn't have a lot of thermal mass. So you do need to increase the heat quite a bit if you're trying to heat something, heat a joint that has a lot of thermal mass in itself, like big copper planes, like ground planes and stuff like that. So increasing the temperature by holding down this button is very helpful. As you'll notice, the display does rotate. There we go, it flipped over. So it has an accelerometer inside, which is nice because this also goes into a sleep mode, and that's in the body of this thing. So if you have this thing in a stand, after a little while it goes to sleep. That way you won't accidentally leave it on overnight. And I have been known to do that. So I think I have it set for like 175 sleep temperature. And it will stay in that mode for, I don't know, 15 minutes or 20 minutes, and then it will just turn off completely. But the cool thing is when you pick it up, it immediately heats back up. And because running at 20 volts, it's pretty quick at heating up. And you'll see how quickly this thing actually gets to 350, which I'm pretty sure is my set temperature. Yep, there it is. And this little thing here indicates how much power is going into the tip. So now that it's reached the set temperature, that should go all the way to nothing, and it will just sort of maintain the temperature. And if we hold this down, there's the boost temperature. Very quickly gets up to whatever I have it set to, I guess 420. And you let go and it will slowly ramp back down. And you can see it's not heating the tip anymore based on that little icon. And we hold this button, now it goes into sleep mode, or sorry, turns off, and it's just telling us, hey, the tip is hot, so be very careful. And the tips are easy to change. You just take out that screw and swap these out. I have a bunch of other tips, and it's a very standard tip. You can get these from eBay, AliExpress, or whatnot. And what's this called? It's like an angled bevel top. So I don't know. It's the one I like to use, but there are a bunch of other ones. Very thin ones, screwdriver thick ones. I don't know, a bunch of different stuff. Anyways, I really recommend these. These are great. And of course, you can run this off a battery pack because it's USB-C. So you just need a USB-C power bank. And I think it uses 65 watts. And yeah, that's it. This is the Pinecil. Well, not to take away from iFixIt's thunder on the FixHub, which I think this is a relatively new product from them. I actually don't really know too much about this other than the fact I think it comes with all the stuff we see here. So some wire strippers, some clippers, we have a little bit of solder, some braid, safety glasses, something to wipe your tip off with. I don't know if that's like flux or that's probably flux in a pen, tweezers and a little pick, probably a little silicone mat just to, I don't know, not burn your table or this. This is not really heat resistant, what I have on my bench here. And then, yeah, this thing has the battery in it, and I'm pretty sure you can power this, of course, and run this off of AC, but probably the temperature control stuff is on there. And yeah, it's kind of all you need, 15 things included. So first I'm looking at the back, yeah, it has no clean flux. It also has a chemical dispenser pen. I'm not sure what chemical it's dispensing exactly. Angled tweezers, spudger, safety glasses that actually have a rating. They're not just like cheap plastic things, so you're actually going to get potentially some safety from them. And then as for the little power thing to run the soldering iron, it's a portable power station. I don't know if it has USB out as well, so you could power other things with it. It does come with the bevel tip, which is really good. I don't know if the tips that this thing uses are compatible with my Pinecil. Does it have a picture on here? No, it doesn't really show anything. USB-C cable though, so that's great. It's using standard for charging at the minimum. And it goes without saying that iFixIt is all about right to repair and repairing your own stuff, including they sent a little patch here that says Compy says void your warranty. So yeah, take your things apart that you own and you should be able to fix them yourself. I also got some of the iFixIt stickers. I got those with my screwdriver toolkits. And we got this as well. Let's see what this is. Probably a little poster, I'm thinking. And indeed, that's exactly what it is. A little right to repair poster. If you can't fix it, you don't own it. Repair is better than recycling. Making our things last longer is both more efficient and more cost effective than mining them from raw materials. Repairing saves you money. Fixing things is often free and usually cheaper than replacing them. And doing the repair yourself saves you money. Repair teaches engineering, and repair saves the planet. Earth has limited resources and eventually will run out. The best way to be efficient is to reuse what we already have. Now, those are all mottos that I really stand by. Now, obviously on the channel, I mainly focus on old stuff, retro computers, right? Because I'm trying to keep that stuff going. Of course, you can't generally replace your old retro computers. I mean, I suppose with the Commodore 64, you could buy the Ultimate 64 board that's been out for a few years. That's all FPGA. And of course, if you can't get your original 64 working, that is something that will bring you the 64 experience in the original case. But of course, the Ultimate 64 brings a ton of extra features like HDMI and USB flash drive support for loading software and like a whole bunch of other really nice things. So I can't really say anything negative about that product. It's a really great product. But I'm all about trying to get the old original stuff working again. But when it comes to more modern stuff, I have to say I've done stuff off camera, like my iPad that I use. Unfortunately, I dropped my phone on it one day, my Pixel, and it smashed the glass on the iPad. So I ordered the replacement screen from iFixIt and followed the guides on their website and swapped out the digitizer, the top glass. The LCD itself was fine. This is obviously an older iPad, so it's not all glued together. Well, it was glued, but the screen wasn't glued to the digitizer. So it was actually a really inexpensive fix to replace the digitizer. And while it was kind of frustrating because all the bits of glass were really glued on really strongly and stuff, I was able to get it all off for the most part. There's a little bit of scratches on the case now, but I don't even care. The thing works again. That's all that's really important. So let's see what's in this kit. Oh, cool. It comes with a little nice case, or rather a little whole package. So you can just throw this in your backpack if you're going to do some repairs on the fly. And it holds basically everything there is to have in one spot. Okay, there's our little silicone mat. This is our main soldering iron thing, and metal case. I'm liking that. Oh, USB-C out, USB-C in. So let's see if this has charge in it. I assume we push this to turn it on, maybe? Maybe it's out of charge entirely. Okay. This must be the soldering iron itself. USB-C connector. Oh, nice little cap. I dig that. And it's magnetic because it's sticking to the tip there. But that holds this top on. That way you can slap the top on. I assume, yeah, it feels very durable. It's got little vents on there. Not sure if you need to wait a specific amount of time before you put this on so it doesn't melt or something like that, but you should be able to put that on. And then this thing is not going to burn your hand if you like put it down on the table after you're done using it, and then you can put it away in this kit. Here's the cord that was included. It's very nice and soft silicone. This obviously is the end that plugs into the soldering iron, or whatever this is actually technically called. Let's pop this into here. Maybe it wasn't turning on because I had to have it plugged in. Looks like this wheel here is clickable, turnable, and a blue button. But we're not getting any life out of this at all. So let's plug in my 65 watt power supply there. See if that does anything. There's no obvious signs of life. Okay, I have this thing here, which should be able to tell us if something is actually happening. So let's plug this in now. Okay. Huh. That's odd. Let's plug this cable into the soldering iron, and this thing boots up, and there we go, 20 volts. And if we turn this on, there we go, it's drawing, 2 amps or so. So I wonder what's going on with this. It's like not negotiating the power delivery correctly and just causing this to reboot. Part of me wonders if maybe I need to use their cable. Like I'll plug the blue end into the blue side of the power supply for charging. No, that didn't make a difference. This cable, by the way, I was using was from like a MacBook or something. And sometimes with this little meter, at least, if you reverse the cable, like it wasn't doing anything there, so you just flip it over, and then it will, well, it should work. It shouldn't reboot like this. Well, just in case it doesn't really like my power supply, which I think, who makes that power supply? It's an Anchor or something like that. Multi-port USB-C. Let's plug in this portable chargeable power bank. Ah, it is working now. Well, that's curious. Let's see what this is doing. Ah, okay, on the front of this, this has a little charging icon. Well, it's not charging with very much current. Why exactly was it not working with the actual power supply that I use on everything? I plug so much into this power supply. Oh, look, it has decided to start working on this one too. Well, that is curious, especially because at this point, it's not going to be charging very quickly. Could be because the battery is super low. And I think typically with these types of things, if the battery is super low, it starts charging kind of slowly at first, and then it'll ramp up, and maybe this will charge at like 65 watts later. Oh, there's a label. Let's look at the label. Input power. Yes, this is about, I think this is about 65 watts or so, 20 volts at 2.25 amps. And the output combined 100 watts max, up to 5 amps at 20 volts. I'll be curious to see how much this actually draws. Now, this doesn't have any controls on it, unlike my little Pinecil, which means, and I just noticed there's a little switch here, so I assume that's like a lockout, so it won't turn on accidentally if you just flip that. I think that means the controls for this are on this unit, so I don't think you could just plug any old power supply like this into it, since there must be some communication over USB so you can like set the temperature and stuff, which is obviously going to be regulated in the end piece here, I'm assuming. The FixIt Hub Smart Soldering Iron, input USB-C 100 watt max, and it can do, well, it does a bunch of voltages, so maybe this does just work. It does tell us to read the manual. That must be online, made in Taiwan. I'm noticing here as well, this looks like this is a locking situation. So my assumption is that this actually locks to it. I'm gonna unplug it from USB. Let's just give that a look. So we can twist that, and now this is firmly attached. That's quite slick, I have to say. And of course, this cord is so soft that, well, it won't get in the way, and it's silicone, so you won't accidentally burn it, you know, if you touch the hot tip to it. That's the benefit of silicone. So you can pop that off like so. That's slick. I like that a lot. Okay, well, let's try plugging this cord back into the power supply directly. Ah, look at that, it's booting up. Okay, so I don't know what was going down or what was wrong with it before. I assume the battery is just completely dead, and probably it was having trouble negotiating with the normal big power supply because of that. So I'll leave this to charge for a moment off to the side here while we just look quickly at the other stuff, but I might not really be able to demonstrate it actually soldering anything until I get a little bit more of a charge on there. All right, so here's our chemical dispensing pen. Okay, so I assume you could put your no clean flux in here, for instance, and I do like pens because you can just sort of draw it onto the area you're trying to apply the flux to. It doesn't like blob all over the board. Pretty handy. Here's our rosin core iFixIt solder. Now this is lead free, so this is not something I use. It just makes working with this old stuff that much harder, but you know, lead free, better for the environment. And I don't think they'd be able to even ship this if it had leaded solder in it. So you just get your own somewhere else. Okay, this is the next thing. I don't know what this is. Are these little like sticky pads? Yeah, I think this is like some kind of adhesive, maybe like a reusable adhesive. Like that stuff you can stick on your car dashboard and then place your phone down on it. It won't slide away, but then it just peels off without leaving any residue. There's some no clean flux paste, 2 grams of it, made in USA, awesome. And now we're getting to some of the tools. Now, I've always found that iFixIt's tools are really good quality. I mean, it's probably all made in China, at least these tools are, but you know what? They spec out and work with the vendors to make good quality tools. And this one feels really nice in hand. I like the handle, it feels good. I particularly use this one most of the time. Pros kits. Don't remember where I got this, but I've had it for a long time, and I don't know, I'm just used to it because it just works very well. It's sharp, it's very durable, but it's getting a little worn out. Like I can see it's a little scratched up in the cutting area there, but I really like the little safety latch because I can just flip it with my thumb. This one doesn't quite work as well. The little latch mechanism. Yeah, well, you know what's kind of cool about the latch mechanism is when it's actually in the latch position like it is there, all you have to do to release it is just push in and it comes off, which this one does not do. See, this one stays latched, but I kind of like that because it just means it won't accidentally latch. It's not spring-loaded, in other words. This one is spring-loaded, So there, and now it's latched. You just clip it like that and it's unlatched. But to get it relatched again, it's a little bit extra of, I don't know, so you just have to learn how to use it, I guess. Not that big a deal. But still, they feel nice. Maybe not as heavy and durable as these, but considering it's just part of a kit, it seems pretty good. Right, here are the flush cutters. Absolutely essential piece of kit if you're working on anything, because I am now using these, which were sent in by a viewer, Nipex, and I have to say I absolutely adore these. I kept using the cheap ones from China, and the issues is the little tips on those break off, although the ones from iFixIt seem pretty good. See how the tips are already missing? Just like this, they're kind of rounded. That means that they're less likely to break off, fly off, and hit you in the eye. So these ones are super durable, and I'm sure they're very expensive compared to these made in Germany and everything, but they are very good cutters. But these ones seem much better than the usual, and I like, again, it has that kind of self-releasing latch. You just push like that and the latch is released. But it is a little strange to actually latch that. I don't know. I don't really like that. I guess you get used to it. These don't even have a latch. All right, what do we have next here? What is this? Oh, that's our little wick. Really useful if you're cleaning off the tip. So that's very cool. The tip that's on here now, let's take a closer look. I think this is a little chisel tip. See how it's kind of cut at an angle? I like that. That's actually a very useful tip. The ones that are just point, like a conical point, I think are stupid and they're not useful. At least I don't find them useful for anything. So this is interesting. I'm assuming this is a component holder. So you could put like 2 resistors or wires in there to help you attach the wires. And I have a couple of these that I 3D printed. So like this one here has different size little guides and things. You just shove the wire into there. So that's helpful sometimes. And then this is another one that you can 3D print. Use elastic bands, and it's just like little clamps. Very, very usable, but obviously a lot bigger than this. So it's not gonna fit in your little toolkit. We have some solder braid. What brand is this? It's iFixIt brand. I don't know who actually makes this for them. It has an address in Germany, also in California there. I don't know. Yeah, Prop 65 warning, that's normal. Made in Taiwan. Okay, so maybe this is good quality. I couldn't say too much about it. I have to admit, I pretty much stick to either of these brands, MG Chemicals or Chemwick. It's really not a good idea to go with the really cheap stuff. It just works so badly. So this stuff from MG Chemicals is made in Japan, and I don't know where this Chemwick is made, but they both work really quite well. Yeah, good braid isn't really cheap, but I think it's completely worth it. If I've struggled using braid, and you're like, why is this braid stuck so much? Well, it's probably because it's just not good brand, and the really cheap stuff is just terrible. I mean, it looks okay, I guess. It's almost like it's a little corroded there on the end. That's fine. We'll just cut that off. Just get rid of that piece. It says it has no clean flux in it. That's probably why the stuff that I buy, this I'm pretty sure has rosin flux in it, and you really do need the flux. Yeah, it contains rosin. So that's why it looks a little different, and it's not, the weave is a little looser on the no clean stuff. It just doesn't hold it together as well. I'll keep that in there just for when I ever need to solder on the road. This will be a perfect little kit just for that kind of thing. Also in the toolkit, we have iFixIt tweezers. Always pretty good quality. I have a whole bunch of those. And the iFixIt spudger. These are really good, much better than the typical cheapy ones you can buy. And then we have our safety goggles. Oh, these seem pretty nice, actually. They're going to be too small for my head, though. Definitely too small for me. I have a big head. Let me demonstrate that by taking off my glasses and putting these on. Oh, you know, they're fine, except, well, now I can't really see. So ultimately, what I really need to do is I need to buy a set of prescription safety goggles. And you can get them from places like Zenny Optical and stuff like that, where they'll take your glasses prescription, and then yeah, I can't put these over my glasses. So unfortunately, these aren't good for me, so I'll just give those away. And yeah, I don't mess around with my eyes. If I'm using the Dremel with like a cutting bit or anything that like can have flying stuff, then I will absolutely put on my safety goggles. And let's see, did this thing actually get a charge? Can we turn this on at this point? Okay, it's booting up, so that's more than it was doing before. Okay. Yeah, my assumption is this must be the battery level. It just says 0. So that could be a little bit of a ding against the iFixIt crew. If this thing has parasitic draw when it's not plugged in, like I don't know how long this was sitting on a shelf somewhere, but if this is off, it shouldn't drain the battery just by sitting there on the shelf. It's not good for the batteries because lithium ions don't appreciate being drained all the way. Hopefully it has protection circuit that shut off the battery connection so it was no longer draining. But I feel like the soft power on off feature of this should not have such a big parasitic draw. And it would have been nice maybe to have like a physical switch on here that actually cut off the battery or turned off the MOSFETs. So it wasn't even going to drain the battery with like this whole soft power on thing. All right, still is running though with the power disconnected. Let's take a look to see how much current it's drawing. So is it actually charging the battery a little bit faster than it was earlier when it was like barely doing anything. All right, so yeah, again, this little meter's not doing anything. Just flip over one of the cables. Yes, there we go. It's charging at 1.9 amps now, 20 volts. So a much faster charge than it was doing initially while it was just topping up the battery. I guess the question is, first I'll just plug this directly back into here. Can we run the soldering iron while it's trying to charge itself? It may or may not work, but let's give it a try. I think I saw something that was saying that this was detected. Let's do it again. Okay, so that's just normal, not plugged into anything mode. Okay, there it is. It's connected to the soldering iron. And we set the temperature with this. And my assumption is it's off still. So we push this button to warm it up. Oh, units, Celsius, okay. Max temp, idle temp. Oh, so this does have an idle temp, so it must be an accelerometer in the end as well. So you click that. It's pretty easy to use. Idle timer, I could use a little bit more time on the idle timer. I'm going to put it to a minute, which is the max. Idle timer enable, disable, sleep timer. Okay. Yeah, it gave up. And I don't know if this thing actually heated up or whatnot. I don't think it did because I don't feel any warmth at all in here. All right, well, yeah, this is telling me it's unhappily low on power. All right, well, I think that's all there really is to show for this thing at the moment. I clearly need to charge this up, but I'm a little disappointed. Oh, it's got a little kickstand. It's kind of cool. I'm a little disappointed if this thing can't stay in this kit for, say, 6 months without completely draining the battery. I think that's a little bit of a fail. Maybe this thing just had its button pushed while it was in shipping, and then that actually is not actually a problem with this. But if anyone has one of these and can report that that is a problem, that's definitely iFixIt. You need to fix that problem. That's kind of unacceptable. You know, it reminds me of all of my little battery powered devices I use. One of them that has that problem is this, the Handtech scope. I reviewed this thing ages ago. This is the 2C42. I'm sure it's dead right now because this thing has high power off drain. Yeah, it's dead. It's got normal 18650s inside, so I'm not super concerned about that, but it's not a very good tool if I don't use it for 6 months and I go to use it and it's dead. And the whole idea of a kit like this is you might buy this to have in your backpack and to use on the spot. But say you charge this thing up and then, you know, months pass and you're like, oh, I'm going to go to my friend's house and solder. And then you turn it on and it's dead. And unlike my Pinecil, which just runs off normal USB-C, well, if my battery pack were dead, I could be like, oh, hey, can I borrow your, you know, USB-C power delivery wall adapter? And it would just work. I wouldn't have to worry about charging a battery. Now, I personally always have battery packs around because I use one to run my camera and I have like another one I use for my laptop, you know, like these types of things. But I do wonder, I guess now that this has been set up, like I was setting the voltage stuff, I don't know if it had a chance to save those settings in here. And maybe when I plug this into here, it will actually turn on and then the battery pack's on. So, you know, maybe this is actually getting hot right now. I mean, that would be pretty cool if this just is using the settings that were last set up in this thing. Let's see if this is actually hot. No, it's not doing anything. Okay, there's a switch here. Let's flip the switch. Oh, there's a blue light on here now. So maybe that's the on switch. Battery pack, are you still okay? Yep, you're still fine. Okay, there we go. It's actually hot. All right, that's a little redeeming right there. I like that a lot. So that's good to know. If you need to use this thing and look, it's now glowing red or orange, I guess, to say, hey, I'm hot right now. So it must use the previous settings that you set up in here when it came to, wow, this thing is just sitting there with a low battery icon, even though it's not plugged in. But yeah, this thing must use whatever settings you had it last set to. So say 350 and the idle temp and everything. That's cool. That's great in a pinch when this is dead that you can still use this thing. And if I flip the switch to the off position, yes, okay. And it's kind of purple color now. I bet you that's the, hey, I'm cooling down. I am digging that. I am really, really digging that. In fact, while this is on, though, let me heat it back up again by flipping the switch. I have, where is it? You need to tin the tip, ideally. Here it is, tip tinner. Yeah, this is a little like stuff. I don't know what this is actually, but it's looks like a powder and you just sort of jam the tip into it and it melts. And then that just sort of coats the tip so it doesn't oxidize. It's good to use that periodically. All right, now that it's tin, we can turn that off. And yep, it's cooling down. So I'm assuming actually that little switch on here is how you turn this off and on as well. Like maybe you start the heat with that, because we never got to the point of seeing if I could start it with this. But I'm assuming that is the case, because when I pushed on the wheel, which I thought would start the heat, that actually just went to the menu. And now we can just pop this little tip back on. So even though this thing hasn't like fully cooled down, see it's still flashing there. I'm digging this, it's pretty cool. And we can unplug this USB cable, and we can just use a normal USB cable as well. We should be able to. Yes. So, yep, cool. So it's just telling us right now, even though the switch is in the off position, that the tip is hot. So just be careful about that. Very cool. I plug this back into my power supply up there. It now indicates that it's charging. It has a little flashing icon. So by the time this video comes out, I won't have sufficient time to test to see if that thing has a high standby drain. So I'm going to rely on my viewers who are watching. If any of you have this particular kit and you can report on if there is a parasitic drain while that thing is off, definitely put a comment down below. And yeah, iFixIt team, if that is the case and you're watching, please fix that in revision 2, because to me that kind of sucks and it takes away a lot of the functionality and the usability of this really quite cool kit otherwise. And when it comes to the price of this device, the entire kit, as you see here, the FixHub, it is $250. So that is not cheap. And looking at the features here, USB-C power delivery. So yeah, we already figured that out, that does work. Intuitive controls, 8 hours of soldering. So that's the amount of power that's in that battery pack. Premium build quality with the repairability in mind. Yeah, I saw normal Phillips fasteners around the edges. So obviously it's not too hard to open up. Factory presets is 350 degrees Celsius, which is exactly what I use actually. And that's perfect. And I realized one thing it doesn't have that my Pinecil does have. It doesn't have that boost mode. And I do use that boost mode, I gotta admit. And that means you would have to go and fiddle with the temperature with the battery pack there. And you wouldn't be able to do that if you were using this with a USB power supply like this. That doesn't have the controls on it. Safety features, has auto standby, which I already know, but it has fall protection. That's kind of cool. Yeah, if it like suddenly detects itself like this, I mean, I don't know, what can it do? Just turn off so it doesn't like, I mean, it'll still burn whatever it touches, but I guess it won't keep burning it. And it does say here that it may need a firmware update. And of course, there is a step-by-step guide to do the firmware update. Now, it looks like you can just buy the smart soldering iron itself on its own, and that's $80. Automatic sleep and idle. Requires USB-C 65-watt power source. We already tested that. Power station runtime. Well, of course, doesn't include the runtime. It would use some other battery pack. And you can control it via an app or the web console. Okay, that's neat. That is neat. But is that actually better than the Pinecil, which just has a OLED screen and 2 buttons, which allow you to do all that stuff without an app, without any special stuff? And actually, looking at this, I just realized that just the power supply plus the soldering iron is $250. The entire kit with all these other tools is $300. So it's not inexpensive. It is not inexpensive at all. Of course, the big thing is at the end here, it says iFixIt quality guarantee. And I do have to admit, the stuff that iFixIt makes, I've found always to be super high quality, and you kind of get what you pay for. So you're not buying, you know, $2,000 worth of equipment for $300, but you're still buying something that's really good quality. And of course, they stand behind it so you can repair it yourself, buy replacement parts, and all the tools and stuff at least that are in this kit, which of course you can buy separately as well, not as part of this kit. And like I said, I've always found their stuff to be pretty good. But that is a pretty steep price. That is a pretty steep price indeed. And in case you're wondering about the Pinecil that I used right here, this is it. It's $30 or $26 for this exact thing you're looking at. Obviously, this has the little teal color silicone thing, and I have red on this. Otherwise, it's exactly the same. And the only thing is it comes with a terrible tip, the conical tip, which I think is junk. So you have to buy a new tip. But those are very easy to get and very inexpensive. And they're durable too. I don't think I've ever had this tip break on me, and I've had this tip for a long time. Now I have to say, compared to the Pinecil, this is a much nicer quality. It has a metal body, a really comfortable feeling grip. And of course it comes with this very handy cap that I don't have with the Pinecil for easy and safe storage. And with the Pinecil, of course, once you turn it off, it's still what could burn you, and you can't just put this down anywhere like you can with this one with this cap. So I really, really like this. And for $79, I think it's actually a pretty good value. Now, for anyone who's watching this, like iFixIt, maybe you are, if you could take the Pinecil's functionality with the screen and the buttons and you could put it into here, that would make this just on its own kind of killer, really kind of killer. I really like how this feels. It's nicer than the Pinecil. The Pinecil, it's just not super ergonomic to use. I mean, I don't know, it's fine. It's not as nice as yours and doesn't feel as good either. The funny thing about the Pinecil though is you can buy replacement cases, you can buy all the parts replaceable, the firmware can be swapped out, so this is still a very good device. Now this is 100 watts, so it will get hotter a lot faster, plus we'll be able to maintain that heat better than the Pinecil at only 65 watts, which is one of the reasons why I have to use the boost temperature, but still it'd be super sweet on this if we had a little screen and a button on here for boost mode so you could really raise the temperature as necessary. I mean, even if you didn't have a screen, you just had a boost mode, that would be great as well. I suppose the fact that you can use your phone to access this is something, but I just don't love things where you have to use an app, because what about in 20 years when the app doesn't exist anymore? I suppose there's a web interface, but why should you have to use a web interface just to alter the temperature? A little tiny OLED screen and some buttons, all you really need. So you have to answer the question yourself if you think that iFixIt's little soldering iron here for $80 with the really cool locking cable and the indicator light that flashes on here to tell you what's happening is worth it over the $26 Pinecil. Now you be the judge. For me personally, the value of the Pinecil is really unbeatable because this is a really good product and I use this all the time. This is mainly what I use, except for desoldering. I use my Hacko. This is great. So I'll use this in earnest for, I don't know, a while now. Once I get that little power bank charged as well, I'll just use this in earnest. And then I'll probably be able to form my opinions on how this handles compared to the Pinecil, how it works with the high thermal mass things and stuff like that. I'll be really looking forward to it. And we'll see if the whole boost mode or lack thereof is a problem or not a problem with this. But yeah, lots of stuff I really do like about it. I absolutely really love this USB cable and how it locks in. That is cool because you know what? If you drop it like this onto the table, it's going to be a lot more durable than this, which puts all the stress on the USB-C jack. And on this one, it hasn't broken, but it could. Oh, incidentally, Pinecil, at least this version, has a 2.1 millimeter jack as well. So you can take a laptop power supply, or any power supply for that matter, even a 12 volt one, pop it in there, and this will run fine off 12 volts as well, not just 20 volts. Oh, look at this. I found in the box there was a little screwdriver here that came with some bits. I bet you these are required to actually fix this thing. Take it apart if you need to repair it. There's actually a screw in here too, oddly enough. Yeah, it came with 2 screws. So iFixIt really seems to give you everything you need to fix your soldering station if necessary. And then there was this little packet as well, which I think has documentation. Maybe I should have read some of this stuff. Looks like we have another little poster here. Never take broken for an answer. And on the back, a cheat sheet on proper soldering technique. Very cool. Yeah, it talks about leaded solder, 260 to 340. I mean, like I use 350 on that. And then for lead-free, 350 to 370. Yeah, it looks like these instructions are really good. And it does tell you to tin the tip before you store it. So that's at the very end. You clean it, tin it, which just means put fresh solder on it, and then put the lid on it while you turn it off. And that way it's not exposed to air to oxidize. Looks like we have another set of the stickers. So I have 2 of those. Welcome to the repair revolution. Looks like it tells you how to use your device. There's a lot more documentation and instructions on how to use this thing than you would get with the Pinecil. Pinecil is basically like, I hope you know how to solder already because here's a soldering iron. This is a bit better for beginners, so good for that. Anyhow, thank you very much for the iFixIt team for sending in this kit. I'll be looking forward to using this in the future, and then I'll have to give my thoughts about it once I get to use it in anger doing some repair work. I'll put a link in the description to the iFixIt's buy it page for the hub, and I'll also put a link in the description to the Pinecil if you want to get one of these, because you know what? This is great too, and for $26, even if you have a fancy soldering iron, you want to have something you can take on the road with a USB power bank, this can't be beat. It really can't be beat. All right, next up on the bench, we have a package that comes from Jan in the Netherlands. Hi to all my Dutch viewers. I think I mentioned this on the channel before, but I have been to the Netherlands before and I had an absolutely amazing time. Besides seeing Amsterdam, of course, I took the train and went to other cities and went to Kinderdijk and, you know, just got to see the countryside a bit, met lots of amazing Dutch people. In fact, my grandfather's second wife, so my step-grandmother, I suppose, she was Dutch. So I was able to learn a lot about Dutch culture, you know, when I was younger, before I even got to go to the Netherlands myself. All right, I finally managed to break into this box. Looks like we have a whole bunch of Spectrum goodies in here. ZX Spectrum stuff from Sinclair. Yeah, look at that. Micro drive cartridge. All right. Couple of micro drives as well. Why don't I get everything out of the box and we'll take a closer look at everything. In the bottom of the box, I found a note, so we'll take a look at that in a sec. There's one more thing to get out of the box. This little piece of cardboard was taped in the bottom, but it looks like there's a keyboard membrane in there. The letter reads, "Hi Adrian, love your channel, especially love the long form." Yeah, I'm really known for that. It really helps me wind down after a long day of coding at work. Keep up the good stuff. Here's a collection of stuff I haven't touched in years. It's a ZX Spectrum. That was my first machine, but I already have a bunch of working ones, so I thought about sending some to you. I tried to add as much stuff you were interested in that I could fit in the box. I put some funny, odd things in there. The ZX Spectrums are from a friend who inherited it from his grandfather. He gave it to me and gave me the permission to send it to you. The ZX micro drives were working the last time I checked, but now I can't get it to work. Maybe you'd be interested in trying to get them to work. I've erased them with a magnet because it contained personal info. Yeah, that's no problem. The tapes might need new felt. There's also some random C64 stuff, 2 broken Famicom boards. One has a hum and one I broke while trying to add RGB mod. That was way above my skill level. Well, I hope you have fun with it or pass it on if something is not for you. Kind regards, Jan Starquake. P.S. Maybe you can give the game Starquake a go on one of the machines. It's where my nickname comes from. I have fond memories of playing the game, but I never got further than a few of the first screens. It looks great, but it's quite hard, as is typical with games on the ZX Spectrum. Well, thank you, Jan. That was very nice of you. So let's see what we have going on here. There's a lot of stuff. Spectrum. Digital drum system for the Spectrum? What? This looks like it was the sleeve originally from a box for the Spectrum. I don't know if that's included in here. It was interesting because obviously it only took up that much space. We have another box of some kind. This might have actually been the Spectrum box that the sleeve was around. Yeah, let's see if I can reconstruct the box and slide this in just to kind of have it get back into its original shape a bit more. Yep, there we go. That was it, the Spectrum box. Spectrum for the Spectrum. Okay, we have a manual for the ZX Spectrum. I think I have one of these. Microdrive and Interface 1 manual. I guess I don't have one of these because I don't have any of these microdrives. I will need the manual because I really don't know how any of this stuff works. Tape cartridges. Oh, these are them? What? They're so tiny. I know nothing about this format at all. I'll have to check the manual, I suppose. I wonder if this, okay, that slides out. Oh, it is so cute. Look how tiny that is. So there's the felt that Jan mentioned. It's behind the tape there. So the head will have to push up against that. So inside of here is an IC. Let's see what this is. Looks like we have a Z80 CPU. Okay, that's handy. It's kind of a new version too, from 2000, 43rd week, unless this is a fake rebadge. Kind of looks like it based on how shiny this is. Yeah, I'm gonna say this has been painted. You see how the body of the IC is a different color? Acetone is very good at exposing what might actually be on here. But yeah, that doesn't happen on real chips. Not at all. So they sand the top down and then they paint it and then they use a laser to etch the markings into it. Not to say this isn't a Z80 CPU, but I think it's been sanded down, so any original markings are completely gone from it. Let's look at the bottom side. Philippines. Yeah, look how scratched up that is. This was obviously pulled out of something else. I don't get why they even do this rebadging, because this probably was a real Z80 CPU. They just try to make the part number standard so they can list it on their online store as a new old stock Zilog, but clearly this is not new old stock. It's just been rebadged. Anyways, what I'll do is I'll just put Z80 with a question mark on it. So when I go to use it, well, I know to take it with a grain of salt. All right, well, anyways, back to our good stuff. So a ton of these micro drive tapes. Did anyone ever have this particular case? Looks like it comes from Orga Plus. Let's see if I can clean this up just a little bit. Oh yeah, look, that cleans right up. Very nice. Yeah, it's just a little grimy. I mean, it's very old. It's completely excusable that it doesn't look brand new anymore. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. Looks freaking brand new again. This is perfect because I don't have any way to store these tapes. So this little tape storage thing is freaking perfect. Now, along the lines of that, looks like we have these boxes, but these appear to be empty. Yeah, so this is originally how you stored it, and these are pretty inefficient. I mean, compared to a regular cassette box, they could have had little cute little plastic ones, but these all seem to be original. Oh, it's got some of the original paperwork in it, though. So it looks like December 1st from 1990. I can't quite read what that says. And this will be also from the 31st of December, also 1990. I love it. I absolutely freaking love it. And then we have the little labels as well. These probably don't have a lot of stick left. No, they definitely don't. And care of your cartridge microdrive. Your microdrive cartridge is a delicate precision instrument for use with the Sinclair QL microdrive and the ZX microdrive. They both use exactly the same cartridge. Always store in the sleeve when not in use. Insert or remove the cartridge from the microdrive slowly and carefully. Ensure the cartridge is firmly installed before starting the microdrive. Do not repeatedly insert and remove the cartridge without running the microdrive. I'm just going to check these all for bits of paper, and I will keep that stuff separate. Right, so these were all the empty boxes for all the cartridges. And it looks like from a paper perspective is what we have. And yeah, there's no stickiness to that label whatsoever. And it looks like we have 19 microdrive cartridges, and this has the capability of storing 20 in this awesome little holder. So let's open up the first little package. There's the ZX Interface 1. I think what this does is it adds a joystick port. And well, it looks like this is like tape in and out. But tape in and out already exists on the ZX Spectrum. The construction quality of this is, well, interesting. I don't know if that's original. And this looks like it got burned right there as well. This has some type of edge connector on the side, and we have an edge connector on the back, so it would be the same expansion interface that you have on the back of the ZX. And this side's got nothing. And it looks like your ZX Spectrum just sits in this. Made in UK. Right. Well, luckily I have the manual for this. It kind of explains what this does exactly. I think there are 2 of these, and this is cool. I don't have any of these, even though I have a real ZX Spectrum, which, well, the ZX that I have does work. I fixed it in a video a long time ago, years and years ago. Don't know if either of these work. This will be something that we'll have to figure out in a future video, I think. All right, next up. Oh, it's a Famicom top loader. I don't have any of these. Oh, that's so cool. And it's the Japanese model, so it's NTSC as well. That means that it actually has AV output, so the composite video. I think this is the same cable the Super Nintendo uses. The North American version only had RF out. You had to do a mod to get anything out of it. But that means this also has the 15-pin connector for hooking up external peripherals like the keyboard and stuff. Very freaking cool. I love that. That is awesome. And it looks like this is a regular Famicom here. So we have a bunch of 8-bit goodies in this package. This is very cool. This will be my second Famicom that was sent in on a mail call episode. This thing's been through a lot. What's happening with the cables? Oh, this is probably just because this is the one that was attempted to be modified. Well, you know what? The case is in really good shape. Let me grab my other Famicom. It doesn't look as good as this. Well, I can't easily find my other Famicom that was sent in. It's just the case is a lot more yellowed, and it's unevenly yellowed as well. This one's really nice looking. Just needs a little bit of a wash, and the case itself will look great. Thank you for putting the screws there. And then the unit itself, well, it's probably seen a bit of a better day situation going on. Look at the interesting mods. Now, luckily, I have spares of these main chips if these ones are damaged. This appears to be maybe an AV mod that was attempted to be installed into this. I know in the letter it said RGB mod. Not sure which of these 2 was getting the RGB mod. Now, the RGB mod, typically, there's a little board you attach to the bottom side underneath the PPU, picture processing unit, and then that outputs the RGB signal. And you do have to modify the console to, you know, drill some holes for the extra jacks and stuff like that. But cool, this will be, yeah, future repair. And yeah, my assumption is this was the AV cable that was attempted to be added to this with that mod that probably went south. And how are the controllers? Oh, they look good too. They look really good. Yeah, no issues. These things are, this thing is in awesome shape. Awesome shape. Okay, here's our ZX Spectrum. Looks like it's got a little bit of a composite mod that happened on here. Shape is not bad. This is very typical from my understanding. Like, these get scratched up. All of the parts for this are available as replicas now. So no matter how rough the condition is, it's not that big of a deal. In fact, I remember my ZX Spectrum that I brought back from the UK on a trip. Let me go grab it actually. Is this one here, and this was in kind of rough shape, but look, I have this nice dust cover now, and the dust cover and the replacement parts for this, which was the new metal plate and I think a keyboard membrane, all came from ZX Renew. So if you need to refresh your ZX Spectrum at all, that is the place to go to get all those replacement parts. And I mean, they look really good. Like, this is a modern replica of this metal plate because the old one's dented up and stuff. And look at the old one. It looks exactly the same. Like, the rainbow stripes, everything about it is perfect. Now, it is interesting, and I don't know if this is like because this one on my left is grimy, but the keys are much nicer looking on the one in my right hand. And yeah, this one, which I bought off eBay, I had all of its feet installed. I think it's like an early, it's not the very first issue, but it's an early one. Can't really tell from the outside. A little bit of rust on the screws. I remember that. 209286. And this one here is 501205. I don't know if that's like a sequence number or serial number or what, but makes it seem like it's a little bit later. And actually, yeah, it's interesting because on mine in the top corner actually has ZX Spectrum and stuff there. And on this one, it's down in the bottom area. Anyways, I obviously didn't grow up with this because it didn't really sell them in North America. I mean, there was the Timex version, but that wasn't really a thing. These were so big in the UK and then all over the rest of Europe that, you know, made a huge impact in so many programmers' lives. So many game programmers today got their start on one of these. So it's very pivotal and influential for a lot of people. So I'm really glad to have a few of these because they're just not common in the US. And yeah, this will be my second authentic Spectrum, which definitely will need a good clean and a good repair. So this thing should be able to be brought back to life. And Jan sent ahead this, which is definitely going to be the keyboard membrane. I can kind of see, I can see it there. Yes, there it is. That is the replacement keyboard membrane. So they pretty much all need it at this point, these original ones, especially once you take it apart. The worst thing about swapping this out, and I think I've done it on video for this, but it was years ago, is you do have to peel up this metal plate. And unfortunately, it can kind of get damaged when you do it because it's made out of aluminium. I'll say it the way the UK folks do. So when you peel that up, it gets bent a little bit and then it never looks right again. I think maybe with a little heat, it would be possible to get it off without actually causing damage. But yeah, this one seems to be stuck on really, really well. That's the only way to get the keyboard membrane out. Once it's out, you can clean the keys because that's just a rubber thing. Put the new membrane in and that feeds through. And then we'll make this computer good as new again, as long as you don't damage this metal plate. All right, well, we still have a bunch of little things here, but what's this box? Is this actually the micro drive or is this just the box? It has a 1-year guarantee, but only valid in the UK. So it feels like something's in here. This is it, right? This is the micro drive. Okay, so what I'm curious about, looks like it plugs into the side of that expansion interface. So this, but it must have a cable because obviously that doesn't plug in together. So what this gives you is 85K of online storage, high-speed load and save. You can have up to 8 of these drives plugged into each other. So it has a connector on both sides. That's fascinating. Free demonstration cartridge. It's not inside the box. A little cable connects this unit to that, so must have little edge connectors. And probably in the original box here, if the camera gets okay. Yep, so one of these would have been the original cartridge. Oh, wait a second, take a look. I almost missed these. There's the little bridge unit. All right, so it goes like that. And then I suppose like that. Okay, that's neat. And there's a second bridge unit right there for daisy chaining other drives together. Now, one thing is interesting about this little bridge thing is this is not at the same height. As you can see, if it's sitting on the table, they're not properly aligned. I'm almost feeling like there would have been a cable for the first unit, and then these would be used to hook up the various micro drives with each other. Well, let's just see what else we have. Maybe it's in one of these other packages. All right, so Akura U-Speech or Micro Speech System B. And this is absolutely for the ZX Spectrum. And we have an RCA jack and a 3.5 millimeter headphone type jack. And on the back of this, we also have another RCA jack. So is this just speech synthesis or is this actually speech recognition? Now, I know for a fact there's going to be people watching who know more about these devices, specifically the micro drive, what it's going to take to get this working. Probably are belts inside of there, which might have explained why this wasn't working. And then also about the felt on the little cartridges themselves. That's something that has to be changed. And if so, recommendations on how to do that exactly. We have the software for Spectrum. Oh, and I think this is the hardware for Spectrum as well. So this plugs into the Spectrum itself, Spectrum. We have an RCA jack. That's it, no other connections. This feels extremely light. Spectrum digital drum system for the Spectrum. Now, Spectrum doesn't have digital sound, so we'll have to be, I'm very curious to see how this actually works. Connecting up the Spectrum, the audio output to this Spectrum is through the connected lead and phono plug. This should be connected to the input of your amplifier if you're using a hi-fi system, line in or aux. Turn the volume of your amplifier to low and reconnect the computer power. The screen should show the Sinclair screen notice, blah, 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 and then you load the software off the tape. There are demonstration songs on the tape, and getting to know your Spectrum. The Spectrum converts your 48K Spectrum into a programmable digital drum system using the digital recordings of real drum sounds to achieve the degrees of realism found until now only on specialist machines costing hundreds of pounds or more. A kit of 8 different drum sounds is provided. Alternative sounds may be loaded from cassette tape. Rhythm patterns can be written using on-screen display or in real time by tapping the computer keyboard. Oh, I love it. If in doubt, try it out. So we have different channels: kick, snare, mid-tom, low-tom, cowbell, hi-hats, and claps. You got to have that digital clap sound. I'm super curious if anyone watching used one of these Spectrums in the past, and did it lead to a career in music for you? Did you become like a amazing musician that we all know because you started with something like this on your ZX Spectrum? And it's really quite cool that we have the original box too, which I'm going to put the tape, the manual, and the hardware into for safe storage. I really do wonder how many Spectrums were sold and how many Spectrums still exist with the original box. Now, there might have been packing material in here that I don't have, but still, it's very cool to have this. This will look awesome on the display in my office on the shelves. 8 digitally recorded real drum sounds, simple to use, true digital drum machine, real-time and on-screen programming, complete with software. Extra sounds can be loaded from tape, creative, educational, and fun. The most exciting peripheral ever developed. Dynamic filing system, store over 1,000 programmed rhythms, tape sync facility, songs can be saved to tape, polyphonic, comprehensive manual, and just plug into your hi-fi. This is a really cool peripheral. I have to say, I've never heard of anything like this for any other 8-bit computers. I know the Commodore had that thing where you like laid a keyboard on top of the keyboard, like piano keys looking thing, and you could play music through the SID. But an actual like sampled drum machine? That's very cool. All right, we have another ZX Spectrum interface, the Interface 2. What's under here? Inquiring minds want to know. Okay, interesting. So I don't know if that's the same type of interface that goes into the micro drive. I doubt it, but we have 2 joystick ports and the printer interface, so it's pass-through for this bus interface. Yeah, okay, so yeah, the ZX Spectrum did not have joystick ports built in, so what these do, as far as I'm aware, is they emulate keyboard pushes. And I think there's a couple different standards of the way this works, like what keys it pushes, and different games have different support for different things. Now, I'm curious, I guess that is not for your joysticks, because this looks like you could plug regular Atari joysticks into it. Not this one on the ZX Interface 1. And I guess the question is can you daisy chain these together? So far all the stuff that I've shown, none of it I have, except for the ZX Spectrum. I have one of those, but all these accessories, the Famicoms, well, I guess I have one Famicom, but the top loader I don't have, and Commodore. These must be Commodore cartridges. I can see a little bit of the label there. Okay, well, first one is this neon green Epix Fast Load Reloaded. My assumption is this is the same thing as the regular Epix Fast Loader. It's just, reset button and then got a copy of the ROM on there in a very cool neon green case. Good way to load stuff faster off disks. Creative Software presents Save New York by Joe Jetson for use on the Commodore 64. I gotta say, I'm not familiar with this particular game. And then this one here is the power cartridge with a button on it. Can't say what this does. I'm not familiar with that one either. And last one we have Frogmaster. Must be a clone of Frogger by, published by Commodore. I don't know if they wrote it. Commodore made in Hong Kong. Okay, so we have tons and tons of ZX Spectrum stuff. I think what I need to do is I'm going to need to do a ZX Spectrum repair video, and that's where I repair the main unit, replace the keyboard membrane, that kind of thing. And then I can test out these expansion interfaces along with, what's this again? This was the USpeech module or microspeech, and then test out this micro drive. So I'll be looking for help again on how to get these up and running. I haven't done any Googling, of course. There's probably lots of posts about it. But if anyone has any suggestions of where to look or guides about belts this might need, things like that, let me know. Not to mention, is there anything I have to do for refurbishing the cassettes, like with a little felt pad or whatever. Then as for the 2 NESs or the Famicoms that I have here, I have some other broken Famicoms that I've been accumulating, so I'm gonna have to do a repair-a-thon of those. So I'll just add those to the pile. And I think that just leaves this Commodore stuff, so I'm just going to break out the ZIF64 and let's just quickly give those a test and see if those are working. All right, let's see if the old ZIF64 works. Gosh, I haven't used this thing in a while. I mean, I used it the other day, but I haven't used it on camera in a while. That's not working. Looking inside of this, we have the LumaCode interposer installed, but I used this just the other day, I thought, and it was working. And then I have one of these, I forgot what they're called. It's the Raspberry Pi Pico SID simulators. I don't know, everything should be working in here, but it just very quickly does that. I'm going to reset the RetroTink. I think everyone knows that I have issues with this thing sometimes. Sometimes it's just a good old power cycle is what it needs to get kicked back into life. So once we see a blue screen, there we go. Yes, it was the RetroTink. I mean, I swear that thing, it's so unreliable. It's like if you leave it on for any length of time, this is the 5X Pro. I'm sure the newer one is fine, but this older one, yeah, really struggles sometimes. All right, we're up and running. Let's first try out Frogmaster, the Frogger clone. That really didn't plug in very well. There we go. Commodore presents Frogmaster. I'm hooked up just through Composite Video, by the way, not through S-Video. Yeah, this is obviously not Frogger. I am not familiar with this. Let me grab a controller. Use joystick buttons to reinforce behavior. Move your joystick to move your goal. Do I push key to start? I must have plugged into the wrong port. Player versus player. Oh, I'm not. I don't think. Wait, what am I doing? Oh, I'm moving this purple thing over on the left side. I just don't know what to do here. Okay. Very interesting. I think I'm in two-player mode as part of the problem here. So let's reset this thing and not be in two-player mode. Okay, practice mode. Standard game. What's the start button? Player versus computer, handicap. Slow, fast, faster. It's not even apparent on how to like start the game. F keys are obviously changing options. Okay, it was like Shift F5. What? I have no clue. No clue at all. The game works, but this one, obviously the manual, it needs to be read to understand how this game works. Okay, let's try this one here. Save New York. Maybe it's a little bit more self-explanatory how this one actually plays, if the game works. Hello? It's got gold contacts and they look clean, so I don't think that's an issue. Doesn't start. And it's kind of unreliable. There we go. A little jiggling is all you needed. Creative Software presents Save New York by Joe Jetson. Okay, I see. So I control these little planes here. I guess I'm supposed to, whoops, crash in or shoot that. Oh, shoot that. Okay. And not hit the buildings. Got it. So here we go. Let's try again. Okay. It's kind of fun, actually. So I got to, no. See, I'm terrible. Terrible. I'm playing through OBS. It's very laggy. Hey, I actually got one. I got one. Okay, yeah, I'm doing a little bit better, aren't I? Oh, he got away. I have a fuel limit, so I assume I have to land. Oh. Yeah, the controls are interesting. Okay. All right, cool. All right, the next one is called the power cartridge. Now, some of these might not work properly on NTSC. So KCS power cartridge from 1985. Obviously, when I hit a key, that goes away. What if I push the button? Ah, right. So we have a machine language monitor, backup disk. So I'm assuming if the system is running, you have a floppy drive plugged in, you can back stuff up. Hard copy prints the screen, I guess. How do we move the options here? That's just not that. F keys just exit right out. Oh, there we go. F7 goes down. F1 goes up. So monitor. There's our machine language monitor, PowerMon. Backup tape. So what, converting a tape to a disk, I guess? I don't have a tape drive plugged in, so I don't think that's going to work. Let's power cycle the computer. Reset all, I'm assuming like a hard reset. Yeah, okay, cool. Backup disk. Doesn't really do anything because I don't have a drive plugged in. I assume if you're in a program, this will take you to basic, so you can do stuff in basic, I guess. Exit out of it, maybe go back in here and then hit continue and get back to your program. And hard copy, well, I don't have a printer hooked up, so that doesn't really work. You know what's kind of interesting is all these cartridges are really difficult to plug into this machine, and I don't normally have that problem. Like I have a bunch of other cartridges here, and if I plug this in, this goes in super easily. So it's like the plastic has swelled, or there's some difference in the cartridge. I don't know, that's weird. I haven't really used this particular machine with a whole bunch of original cartridges. And yeah, they're all really difficult to get in, especially this Commodore one was very hard to get into this slot. And this one should be fine because, of course, it's modern. And yep, fast load, so it's Jiffy DOS and it's trying to patch the kernel or whatever, so I'm not sure that really works together, but if you have the stock kernel, and then the button here is just a reset button. Oh, and there's an LED in there, green one. Looks cool. Yeah, everyone knows famously that the Commodore 64 loads from 1541 disk drives incredibly slow unless you use a fast loader. So the FX fast loader was a very popular cartridge back in the day because it was an easy way to get much better performance out of older disk-based games. Newer games on the 64 had their own fast loader built in, so pretty much did away with the need for stuff like the FX fast load. And then Jiffy DOS, when installed into the computer like this one has, and well, it's Jiffy DOS, but installed here, and also into the disk drive, really made the bigger difference. It was much faster than the FX fast load was. But it's nice that you can still get these replicas in case, you know, the original ones are expensive, I suppose. They're not that expensive, I don't think, because they sold so many of them. They're pretty easy to find. I think I have a couple of the original cartridges, but the replicas are still available. So anyways, all of these are fully functional. And if anyone has any recollection of this power cartridge and like what you were able to do with this, definitely let me know. Was this cheaper than the alternatives? Because we had like Action Replay, then what were the other ones? There's a couple different ones. And I know if I boot up my Easy Flash 3, which is this one, you can load these types of cartridges like the power cartridge onto here and emulate them as well, and it's got the buttons and stuff, so it's kind of cool in that regard that you can emulate these types of cartridges. Now I'm just noticing, by the way, that there's a second micro drive on the desk here. I thought it was, there's one on the floor there, one of the boxes. This one I haven't opened yet, so there are actually two micro drives here, not just one that Jan sent in. Let's see if this one has that little cable that I was asking about for connecting this up to the expansion interface. Yes, this one does have the cable. Perfect. There it is. Okay, so I'll use this to plug the first micro drive into the expansion interface, so on the side, so then it, you know, sits at the right level. And then this has another one of those bridge units right there, so we can bridge two of these together. And now I have actually three bridges, so I could have up to 4 of these micro drives. I don't actually need 4 micro drives, but it is technically possible, at least. So same question I had before about the micro drive still applies. What's the trick to getting these working, if there is a trick? Hopefully it's something that's simple, because fixing mechanical tape drive things isn't always the easiest thing, even for me. It's kind of like analog magic stuff going on. I can see that the battery has fully charged up there while I've been recording this mail call episode. So it charges relatively quickly. So let's just take a quick look at this thing. We'll plug in the soldering iron again, turn that on, boot it up. And I guess I didn't notice, this has the blue ring is lit now, but this should be in the off state. And if we turn the knob, that adjusts the temperature, and we push it, well, that goes into the menu, which we didn't finish looking at last time. So what does it have? Error log, NA, so it has an error log. Max charge, so you can set the charge level for the battery pack. That's handy. I'm going to lower this down to, 85. Just save the battery a little bit. It doesn't ever need to be at 100%. That's actually great, because if you want to keep this topped up all the time, like say plugged in constantly, then you don't want it charging the battery up to 100%. It'll just wear it out much more quickly. Timer enable, power off timer 10 minutes, etc., etc. Temperature correction, sleep mode. Okay, cool. This looks really good. So now if we take this out and I flip the little switch, there we go. Looks like it's heating up. Or not. What happened there? It said shutting down. Why? Why did this shut down? Okay, so I'm going to flip the switch and let this heat up again. Full charge as it goes. Okay, well, I don't understand what just happened. Why did it say shutting down a second ago? It does heat up very quickly, though. That's pretty cool. And this lets you adjust the temperature very easily. So yeah, that little bar graph there tells us how much power is going into the tip. And you can see that it is heated up. So if we flip the power switch off, there we go, it goes into that purple mode as it goes into the cool down. So if we turn this back on, and let's turn this up. How quickly does it get there? Click the button, I guess. I don't know. There we go. Oh, battery error. Charging halt. It's not plugged in. What the heck is going on with this thing? That doesn't make sense, what it was complaining about there. Maybe this is a firmware problem. I need to just update the firmware on this battery unit. Definitely seems fussy, like there's something the matter with it. Just single clicking this button doesn't really do anything. Single clicking this button takes you to the menu. And it looks like to go back to the main screen, we just go to back. Okay, so now it's at 350. And if we unplug this, plug it into this port. Oh, that's fun. The icon shows it's plugged in. Oh, so maybe you can run two of these at once. So if you plug a second one in, look, there it is again. Okay. Well, and look, now it says 100%, and it said 99 or whatever a second ago. Weird. What? What's happening here? It doesn't make any sense what's going on. This is pretty warm, by the way. I can feel warmth in the body, so that's interesting that it heats up. What's happening with this? Why does it think there's still something going on? Okay, I don't know. That was a glitch. Looks like we have a menu here as well. So auto timer, auto power off for the unit itself. Max charge. Look at this battery log. Battery error. What does this even mean? We got two of them in here. Don't know. Let's just give it a quick test to see if it charges my other battery. Plug these two batteries into each other. Hopefully this doesn't damage anything. Okay, it looks like it's, yep, it's powering this one. It should be charging it. Yeah, it looks like it is charging it. So it's only charging at 2 watts though. That's not a lot. I guess because maybe it's mostly full. It's quite possible that it is. Let's plug it into the Pinecil. So we'll plug this in here. Okay, battery error, here we go again. It's power cycling. Oh boy. Something's very wrong. Keeps power cycling. It says 21 volts though. Let's try the other one. See if it could stay running. Nope. Let's draw some current. Nope. Just keeps resetting. All right, I'm going to plug this in. Maybe I'll try to do a firmware update on the power bank because this ain't great. Okay, so here we go. Powered up. iFixIt, 99%. Plug in the Pinecil. 21 volts. Nope. It just keeps power cycling. All right. Oh, it's just sitting here saying battery error, like nothing's even plugged into it. Okay, so I plugged this into my computer. This allows us to connect to it. Power station. Okay, USB 1, soldering iron, battery 100%. There's the serial number. Update available. So we're on version 122. Interesting, it doesn't have like a log, like where to see our logs, or error logs, that is. Power station now displays an error if the firmware update process is incomplete. Allows you to check the firmware version. Looks like that's something about the firmware in the soldering iron itself. Handling of completely dead or missing battery. Interesting. Well, let's do an update. Resetting to DFU mode. I gotta admit, the firmware update process is very easy. I mean, I just plugged it into a USB-C to C cable into my bench computer here, and it just worked. I didn't have to put drivers on or anything. Uploading firmware. Okay, update complete. Your device is now on 1.4.0. I assume our soldering iron is no longer on the right firmware. Okay, firmware update is needed. Please upgrade to iron to ensure optimal performance. So that does not update through the power bank, I suppose. I must have to plug the iron into the computer directly. Right, okay, let's do that. Okay, so I plug in the cable here into the iron. Soldering iron, easy peasy. Okay, oh, there's the web interface that I guess it was talking about. So I don't know if this web interface works over wireless or you have to plug it into the computer, because I don't think I can solder through this. My computer doesn't support power delivery, not this AMD Ryzen thing here. Set temperature, current temperature. Okay, well anyways, update firmware, here we go. This firmware update process seems very slick, gotta admit. Update complete, nice, that was quick and easy. All right, so let's try power cycling this one more time. So the blue light's off on this. Power this back on. Okay. Turn this on. All right, here it goes. Heats up very quickly. Oh, I have it set for 200. That's what happened. Nothing wrong. That's just the way I had it set. No problems. Click the button. Oh yeah, it heats up fast. That's pretty sweet, gotta say. All right, looks good. So we turn this off. Should be in cool down mode. Yes, it is. Blinking like it is. Let's put this on. Now, I suppose my question is, are we still going to have these issues? So let's plug in the Pinecil. Now that we've done all the firmware updates, let's see what happens. I'll just have them both plugged in simultaneously. And that rebooted the whole unit. Yeah, I do not know what's going on with this. I mean, I use this Pinecil on many things, like, say, this battery pack here. And, I mean, I've never had any kind of issues with it. Yeah, there it is, working fine. Can run it. This power bank here has no trouble powering it. I mean, I don't know, is it this Apple cable? I mean, it's certainly, the Apple cable charges the Pinecil from this power bank without any issue. Let's give this cable a try. No difference. See how this keeps flashing? Because this keeps resetting the output. Let's try plugging it into my phone. All right, well, that's charging at 20 watts. So no trouble there. Pixel 8, I think I have Pro, doesn't charge that fast. So that's kind of normal. That's kind of normal. So I guess I'm still concerned about these whole battery errors that this thing keeps getting. Is that going to keep happening? I do kind of wonder. The other thing I wonder is, can I charge this from these front ports? I'm going to grab the red cable that comes from my power supply, and I'm going to plug this in the front, see what happens. It does not do anything. So that's interesting. You cannot charge on the front ports. You have to charge on the back port. Yeah, there we go. It won't charge because it's obviously, I have the charge limit set at 85%, but it did detect that this was plugged in at least. We'll just try this one more time, plug that in, and there's the charging icon, just says it's full. No problem there. So really the question is, what's up with the battery errors? Incidentally, this thing was hot, of course, when I put this lid on, so yeah, it's pretty warm. It's toasty. You can still touch it. It's not too hot to touch. Okay, well, I don't know. I guess I'll have to try this again in the future and see if those weird battery errors come back. It's definitely kind of concerning, but this could have just entirely been a firmware bug with that version of firmware that was on here. And it won't be a problem now. Let's just try one more time, turning this on. Make sure that this runs without erroring out. Yeah, I love that fast start time though. That's very cool. So far so good. No funky errors or anything weird like that. What if we power it off while it's running? Shutting down. No problem. Does it turn on if I plug the cord in while it's off? Nope. Does it turn on if you push the button here? Nope. Only turns on when you push this button, which is how it should work. And yep, it immediately started heating. So it kind of works as you would expect it to work, because this is in the on position, the little switch here. We turn that off, and yeah, it's off now. Let me just add, while this is shutting down, it's still going to be hot enough. I'll just add a little fresh solder to the tip. All right, well, anyhow, hopefully the battery errors are behind us on this now. Definitely kind of odd. I love the charge limit, though. That's cool that you can set that. So you do not feel bad if you have this thing plugged in all the time, which is probably how I would use it. And then if you take it to go, it's just going to be at a nice 85% charge. Again, I'm still concerned about the fact that it has a parasitic draw when it's turned off, though, because why was it dead in the box? Although maybe there's something faulty about the battery in here, which I suppose is kind of concerning. At least this has a really thick metal case, so if this were to, I mean, I don't even want to talk about it if the battery is bad and it could, yeah, anyways, I won't even speak about it. But I really like the features of this. I like how quickly this heats up. Only thing I do wish is that it had a screen on here, so that way if you plug this in to a normal power bank, or you just bought this alone, you wouldn't have to use the web interface just to change the settings or an app on your phone. But of course, the design of this was really to be used with this, which has the nice little OLED screen and all that. And you know what? You just pop up the stand, leave it on your desk. It looks pretty good. It's got these nice rubber feet here and there, so it doesn't even slide around on your desk. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. I guess the only thing I kind of wish this had is maybe if it came with a little stand. Obviously, the design is you can stick it into this little holder here, so you know you can lay it on the desk, but it'd be cool if it just had a little stand you could stick it into as well. Okay, sorry for the phone video, I'm just adding this in. So I've been using this and it's still acts kind of weird. I haven't had any more battery errors, but now I have this tool error, just this one. Yeah, I think these battery errors are the old ones. I just never cleared those, but whatever this is, I don't know. And the strange thing, let's just clear these logs. I always forget how to use this thing. Clear logs. Okay, rebooted. So there's a few weird things about this right now. One thing I forgot to mention, you can attach the tool onto the side, on either side. It's kind of cool. I didn't realize that when I was shooting the video. So I've noticed there's a little bit of an issue here where I don't think this thing's going to sleep properly, because I was upstairs for a while, I was soldering earlier, and I just left this on, and I assumed I'd come down and this would have been asleep or idle, and the whole thing would have turned off. Because I assume when it's in idle mode for however many minutes it's set to, it will just shut the power supply off. Maybe that's not the case. Okay, well, I don't know. All I know is I came downstairs and this was at 350, and I hadn't even been down here for like 20 minutes. 30 minutes. So it feels like the sleep mode or the idle mode is not working on here. I'm going to put pause on my phone here for a minute and we'll see if it goes into idle mode. I mean, this thing did just do a reboot because I cleared the log, so maybe it's going to work now. I don't know. Okay, it's went into idle mode. See that the time is counting down. I don't know why when I came down into the basement, it was fully warmed up, but maybe that was a tool error. I'm not quite sure. Let's just see if I jiggle this ever so slightly. Yeah, that was all it took to wake up. Okay, I don't know. I can't imagine me walking down the stairs would have been enough to wake this thing up. I mean, the cord is just was hanging down here. So like I said, I haven't had any more battery errors with this. I charged it up to 80% on August 2nd. Today is, I don't know, it's like the 10th, I think, 10th or 11th. And, well, before it drained the battery down to 55% by just sort of staying on, I'll just turn the power off there, it was at like 78%. So, and I had used it a little bit. So I don't think that parasitic draw that I was mentioning earlier in the video actually happens, at least not quickly. I still don't really know, so I'll be really curious what the comments are, but there's no point to keep that on there any longer. But I haven't had this plugged in, and it all generally works. One thing I noticed is charged up to 80%. I unplugged it, and I went to go use it later, and it was at like 82%. So just being off, it kind of like gained a little bit. So the battery meter seems to be a little funky. Another weird thing it was doing was when, well, I mean, it's fine now, but it seemed like until I cleared the logs, when I turned on the soldering iron, the little bar graph showing how much power it was drawing wasn't working. So see that goes up full to show it's charging, or I mean, it's heating up. That's working now. It was not working. It would just sort of stay down at the bottom and never do anything. So I'm not sure if that's the tool error that it was getting. But anyways, point being, firmware still seems to need a little bit of work, potentially. This is 1.4 for both the soldering iron and the power bank. But at least the battery errors have gone away, and it seems to be working properly, except for the lack of sleep. So yeah, I don't know, just to kind of beware about that. It's a bit upsetting because I frankly kind of expected it to turn off. There we go, shutting down. I'm known to just leave this on and walk away, which is what I did. And so I really didn't expect it to be on. And that thing was just sitting there hot. Anyways, there's my mini update on the iFixIt soldering iron. Now back to the regular video. Anyhow, there we go. Thanks to the iFixIt team for sending this over. And if you're watching and then you notice something's up with this, then let me know in the comments or email me or something. And again, thank you, Jan, for sending in all the awesome Spectrum goodies. And this has been a bit of a chaotic mail call, and I apologize for that, but that's how it goes sometimes here in the basement. And if you enjoyed this video, thumbs up. If you didn't know what to do, subscribe, all the usual YouTube junk. And huge thanks to my supporters. Their names go outside the screen, and they make it possible to do this whole time. So big thanks to them. And I guess that's going to be that. So stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.